poker table taught you what specifically about sales more than anything else?
Sales is a transfer of emotions. I loved it because I was like, okay, I'm starting to see the matrix. When
Right.
people's language goes like this, I'm getting the model of the world.
It's powerful to be able to tap into the unconscious, look into those shadows, and then be able to actually do it with somebody else.
Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.
Our greatest limitations are the things we haven't considered.
Life is a pitch. It's simply that. It is a pitch, and it is fun. Let's make sure that you're being sold what you want and you're selling what you actually want to sell. I really just love selling. It's the easiest thing on the planet if you believe in yourself. Let's buckle up. By the way, my name's JL. This is Sell Anything.
Okay, so Michael Mahoney,
JL.
I do want to illustrate what I have here for you at this time. Dad life.
I'm staring at it.
A lot's going on there. I get it.
That's
yeah.
right.
So dad life. You're about to be a dad. You pumped?
I am.
Can I announce that in the world?
Yeah. I talked about it on the other podcast, so yeah.
Awesome. So you're excited.
Yeah, I mean, tomorrow's due date. Brielle is at home right now.
Holy Hannah.
So Brady, is my ringer on, by the way? Let's make sure that's
That's a real thing, dude.
Where did I give you my phone?
Yeah, that's a perfect segue for a story that maybe actually might unveil.
I'm actually going to take off the do not disturb right now. Give that to Brady.
That's a really good idea. That's a really good idea. So that actually, great story
It's a real thing.
that I have to share with you. Tyler, Texas. You ever been there? Ever heard of it?
Tyler, Texas. Oh, is it a town?
It is a town
Okay.
in Texas.
Yeah.
So I was knocking doors. My wife was due with our, where's Colin at? 5, our 5th kid. Typically, she's like really, really close to the due date, or a little bit over, or maybe a little bit under. Really, really close.
Okay.
Right? Colin wasn't due for like a week. I'm knocking doors Saturday morning. It was on a blitz. This is what it's called. We leave Sunday. We knock through the week. We get home Saturday night. But I'm in Tyler, Texas. And we obviously flew there because that's a long drive from Utah to Texas. And I get a call Saturday morning, and Shelly says, I think I'm in labor. And I said, this is number 5, so you probably know.
And this was during a blitz?
A blitz, yeah.
Okay.
So during in the door-to-door world, there's like basically 108 days of just chaos,
Gotcha.
right? Where you're knocking from basically middle of April to the middle of September. Essentially, is your window where you're making a bunch of money in summer sales.
Okay, yeah.
But leading up to that, you want to get guys out on the doors that you can train, teach them how to do it, teach them the pitch, the approach, all of those things. So this was a blitz in February, and because we didn't want to knock in the snow, we decided to go to Texas, which it snowed that week, by the way, in Tyler, Texas. So I still had to knock in the snow. But we go down there and we're knocking, teaching all these new sales guys the tricks of the trade, right? Shelly goes into labor. I'm looking at flights. I can't find anything. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what to tell you. Call my aunt. My aunt will be there. We'll figure it out. Hopefully he takes his time. That's like 9 a.m. And I'm in Texas. I can't find a flight, so there's nothing else I can do. So I thought, well, I'm here, so I might as well just go sell. Like, here we go. Sitting here and feeling nervous is going to do nothing. So I start knocking doors, sell one, sell another one, and then I get a phone call right towards the end. And my wife's like, yeah, dude, it happened. He's here.
What?
Or it didn't happen yet. It was happening. So it was actually my aunt saying, she's really close. Like really, really close. And I'm in a house. I'm in a house with these 2 people, and they're looking at me like, what are you doing here? And I'm like, she's 25 hours away.
Yeah.
And he's like, and they were like, well, what do you want to do? So I FaceTimed. They obviously left the room, and I went over to their kitchen table and I sat and I watched the birth of our 5th child from a home in Tyler, Texas. And it was wild, dude. So I say that whole story of make sure that you have that phone ready to go and you can leave if this podcast gets interrupted.
Did you close the sale?
Of course I did.
There we go.
Of course I did.
I got to ask.
I actually ended up
my man.
Yeah, and then I went and got one more that afternoon.
That's my man.
Because I was like, dude, if we're here, someone's got to pay for this baby. Let's go.
Motivation. By the way.
It actually, if they wanted to tell me no, they wouldn't have told me no. Well, we were already deep enough in the process that they had committed. It was go time. The technician was on his way to get it all installed.
Yeah.
But then that call came in and they were like, oh yeah, this is for sure happening because while they install the system, he's gonna watch his baby get born at our table.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool.
Well, I'm only about a 45-minute drive, so I'll make it back in time.
Easy peasy. Yeah, easy peasy. Well, dude, so tell me about you. Tell me who you are. Why you're so good at sales? Because you are great at it.
Yeah, I mean, I think great subjective too. It's like all compared to whom, compared to what, right?
Yeah.
I appreciate the compliment though.
Yeah.
Thank you. Where should I start? I mean, kind of was in sales at a young age from observing.
Okay.
And I mean that my mother's a school teacher and my father is a martial arts instructor.
Yeah.
So in a way, my mom wasn't doing too much sales, but I think teaching is selling.
100%.
Right. So I think I observed from her first selling at a younger age. And then from my father, watching him try to sell martial arts was interesting.
Did he have his own studio?
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I wouldn't say he was ever aggressive with selling martial arts.
Right.
So both of them are very passive aggressive.
Okay.
So I think that's kind of where I got my style.
Okay.
And now you're kind of getting an even more picture of me. Yeah.
I actually had no idea your dad did martial arts. I knew your mom was a teacher.
Yep.
Is he like, are you a black belt? Could you chop us in half if you needed to?
I probably couldn't chop you in half. I'm not going to declare that on a podcast.
Okay. Okay.
Could defend myself.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, my father teaches ninjutsu, and so it's much about self-defense. He's actually got a company called LIVE, which stands for Lessons in Violence and Evasion. It's a women's self-defense program.
Get out of here. That's actually kind of cool.
Yeah. He's
Okay.
been doing it for about almost 40 years now.
Wow.
So I think I've told Brady this story. In college, my father actually traveled around to colleges in New England, and he would teach women's self-defense courses, and I was always the attacker. So I like to say I've been beat up by more women than any man in this country.
Yeah, I bet, dude. I did not know that. So, like, would you go full speed or just like?
Not really, right? Because these are women practicing self-defense for the first time, right?
Yeah.
But it'd be situations like, if a guy comes up to a woman at a club and he's behind her and he's aggressive, right?
Right.
So I would come up and I would just be behind and they would learn how to grab the wrist, control the wrist, and toss me over. And so I do that with
So you got tossed a ton.
a ton.
Did you get a mat to be tossed onto, or you have to go straight?
Some schools, yes. Some schools, no. We did it on grass, and sometimes there's rocks, and you just land on rocks.
Sorry, dude.
Yeah. But I grew up in New Hampshire, so rocks was all right.
Yeah, that's okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Dude, that's cool.
Yeah.
So here's the best part about that, and it illustrates the tagline of the show. So the tagline of the show is "Life's a pitch." So your parents, by no means, were in sales directly.
Yeah.
But we tied back that teaching, communicating, persuading kids to learn something is selling.
Yeah.
There's just not that monetary exchange at the end, and then obviously running your own studio or any of your thing of your own, you're selling because you eat what you kill. So dude, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So your sales journey started where? Like actually all of a sudden there's a monetary exchange because Mahoney's doing something crazy.
Do you want the legal one or you want the illegal one?
Which one is going to be the most entertaining?
Both entertaining. Legally, I was doing fencing sales when I was like 14.
Really?
Yeah, like,
Cool.
you just put in fencing around. I would go knock on doors, and it was working for a guy. We sold fences, right?
At 14.
Yeah.
Did you get paid well?
I think like $15-16 an hour, and
Okay.
then like commissions were like $200, $300, something
For
like that.
a 14-year-old, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, because I was doing the postal digging. I was
Yeah.
the postal digging guy.
Yeah.
You have to put them in there, so your hands
With
are bleeding
rocks,
anyway.
With a bunch of freaking rocks in the area.
Yeah,
Okay.
and I remember asking David Rue was the owner of the company, and I was like, Dave, I think I'd be better if I could get you guys. I was like 14, and I was like, just wanted to make money differently.
Yeah.
It's like, sure, go knock doors and see if you can get it, and I'll give you a couple $100. I was like, sweet, I'll do that.
What I love about what you just said is, so I was raised in a very blue-collar environment. All of my family has produced by like hard labor.
Yeah.
And same thing. I actually installed fences after my mission for a little bit, and I was like, I do not love this. Like
It sucks.
I do not love the manual labor, and so that is one of the big things that actually drove me to sales was, dude, I'm gonna make money with my mouth. Like we're gonna use this and this, and and it's been the best decision I've ever made. No offense to anybody blue collar, because that is a lot of my family still, and I think that it is super valuable. But I would much rather sell something than break my back.
I mean, you're a driven guy.
Yeah.
Like, it's a powerful framework for a mindset and it's essential for success, right?
Right.
So when you're a driven person, I consider myself one too, and you're like, okay, I could do X amount of time doing this manual labor. Yes, it's respectful, and I do appreciate everyone who's in that hard blue collar work.
Yeah.
However, if I got the intelligence and if I have the drive to learn how to collect money
Right.
in a faster way that doesn't have to bust my back, I'm going to do it.
100%. So perfect segue to your drive and your intelligence has taken you from, hey, I'm going to dig some holes to I'm going to make $200 or $300 per commission to now on this stage of the game, you're selling high ticket items like 6-figure plus packages that you're selling to people. Tell me about that a little bit.
Well, there's like 23-year gap in between.
Doesn't matter.
From 14 to 37, yeah. I would say, sales for me picked up the most when I was like 25.
Yeah.
I was working for a company called OEM Connect.
Okay.
And the guy who started really kind of had an ingenious hack to the toner inkjet cartridge supplies world. Okay. He would buy it at surplus pricing, and then we'd go off and like toners, inkjet cartridges, all that stuff. And then we would go off and we'd wholesale it, right? So he taught me how to go off and negotiate purchasing.
Okay.
And then I would have to understand P&Ls. I would have to understand the marketplace. And I really started to have an appreciation for just running a business in general beyond sales.
Okay.
And I think that kind of gave me a leg up in terms of really understanding sales at like a deeper level. It's like, this is just not A equals B type of crap here.
Right.
We're going to know a lot of other factors in there.
Right.
Doing that for like 4 years, I'm 25 to like 28. There was 1 year, I'm 26 years old, and made almost $400K in a year.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was awesome. I spent way more of it than I should have.
Those are what people who are about to be a dad say. That's okay. I get it. No, this is good.
Looking back now, I'm like, there's some purchases and some vacations and some trips that at the time I should have listened to my parents, but hindsight's 2020, right?
Worth it.
Definitely. My liver might not agree. So anyway, doing that, I got burnt out of a couple of things, living in the Boston area, cold weather, and just doing the toner. I was like, what is this sales? Like, this isn't driving my passion, right?
Right.
I was doing wholesaling real estate on the side in New England. I was like, wanted to take it to Colorado. Denver market was blowing up for wholesaling.
Right.
So I go over to Denver market and I just get crushed.
Okay. What was the difference?
Don't know what I didn't know really about running a business for my first time.
Yeah.
Ego, probably.
For sure.
I would say a lot to do with the ego, thinking that I could just walk into a marketplace with zero research and just start doing things that I'd done in New England.
Yeah.
Didn't have a good buyer's list set up. Didn't really do the preparation needed. And I think that's a big part of being a great salesperson or great at anything.
Yeah.
Is what are you doing training yourself in the background? Because training's not something that you did. It's something that you continuously do.
100. Dude, that is well said. I love that.
And so if you're not training yourself consistently, your environment trains you or the marketplace just gives you a slap in the face.
Another good one.
Right?
Yeah.
So I got that slap in the face, which was needed. And I took big losses.
That's an L.
Yep. Took some big money losses. Luckily, I was always good at playing poker. Yeah. And I didn't live too far away from a casino in Colorado. So
this is a real, like actual poker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is this where we get into the legal stuff?
Oh, poker was legal in Colorado. Still is.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. And so I played poker to kind of pull myself out of a lot of financial debts that I had. Like,
are we endorsing that right now?
I mean, poker's legal. People, no, I'm not. Okay. People can do whatever they want, man. I'm just telling you my story, right?
I love it, dude. Keep going.
Because it compounds into sales. Playing poker, you have to be able to read people.
Yes.
I'm sitting at a table and I have to understand emotions. I have to understand ticks. I have to understand if someone is betting a certain way, if they're leaning a certain way, if they're saying certain things. The poker table probably taught me more sales than I would say any other avenue of my life, besides maybe real estate wholesaling when I was doing that in Vegas, right?
Can we dive off just a little bit?
For sure.
What specifically, because I think I know what the answer is, but I'm curious and I want to hear it from your perspective. The poker table taught you what specifically about sales more than anything else?
That sales is a transfer of emotions.
Cool.
And at the poker table, when people transfer their emotions with money, I got you.
Got it.
Right.
Got it.
If they transfer their emotions too heavily, I can pick up on that. And if they're playing coy, I can pick up on that. And sales is a transfer of emotions, meaning that if I'm massively confident in what I'm selling, I'm going to just transfer the confidence into that person that they're going to get the value in the product or the service.
Right.
Right.
Love it.
It's yes. Should I believe in the product and service? Absolutely.
100%.
Should it be something that actually works and provides value to the customer in the marketplace? Yes.
100%.
In sales, it's like, does my confidence and does my trust in myself and this product and service, does that transfer emotionally to the customer prospect?
I love it. We talked actually very specifically about that on a previous episode with Dallin Rogers. You know Dallin.
Oh yeah.
About the 3 little elements that are involved in a sell of one, a super confident or skillful salesperson who knows exactly what they're talking about or what they're doing. 2, a product or service that is actually ecological or helps move humanity forward.
Yep.
And then 3, the buyer who's going to engage in whatever's being sold.
Yep.
You got those 3 things, you got the perfect recipe for prosperity.
Yeah. You're going to have a sale.
Yeah, it's cool. I love it. So sorry, keep going.
Well, with poker, I mean, I just realized that it was there's money involved, there's tactics involved, but I'm not playing the cards. I'm playing the man or the woman, right?
Yeah.
So
Did the women beat you more?
oh yeah,
I knew it.
There was women in Vegas who would clean me up.
I knew it.
Right? If you're a beautiful woman in Vegas, you've probably taken my money. At the poker table, I'm going to be at the poker table.
Brielle, you know what he meant.
It just, all right. So I did learn a lot from poker, I would say, just in the terms of like, okay, if I'm not playing these cards right now, there's mathematical equations involved yet. I got to understand this game.
Right.
But the human being is the one that's making all the decisions here.
Okay.
And that actually kind of started my NLP journey too.
And this is where I thought it was going to go.
Yeah, because I was like, okay, I want to understand the mind more. I got really good at that game, man. Like I won some big
Still
money.
really good at it.
Poker?
The mind.
Oh,
Go on.
for sure. Thank you.
You're right.
Poker, like I wanted to figure out more about the human mind and emotions and all that stuff. So I was like, that taught me a lot of sales, and that kind of propelled my real estate career forward. I started doing better in sales and real estate in Denver. I started to actually open my awareness to other opportunities too. And that's when I picked up Vegas opportunities as well. And also I could fly out to Vegas and play poker out there. So
Correct. That makes sense. I'm connecting all the dots.
yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, I think poker just taught me how to transfer emotions.
Yeah.
And sales is transferring emotions.
100% it is. Yeah. And then the best part is if you do it well, and then the product and service that you're actually offering is logical, and they can see the point of this is what's in it for me.
Yeah.
It's all emotional, transfer of emotion to then I'm going to justify what I just emotionally made a decision on with logic.
Yeah.
And it's awesome.
Too many, I would say, salespeople who aren't hitting their monetary goals are just pushing logic though.
100, dude, I agree. That's exactly what Dallin and I talked about.
Yeah, they're like, why don't they get it?
Yeah.
It doesn't make, it makes so much sense. It's like you're saying sense.
Yeah.
Sense is logical. You're
Right.
pushing your logic. How do they feel? Are they feeling that they can
Yes.
trust you? Do they feel that you're confident? Do they feel that they can trust themselves or trust the business? Like logic, yeah, they're gonna like maybe 10%.
I agree, 1,000%.
Yeah.
Okay, so now we've gone from fences, 25-year gap, but in that 25-year gap, we became a hustler, which is great. Okay, and we did some real estate, then we go to high ticket.
Yep.
What's high ticket taught you? What do you know? Tell us everything.
Yeah, so in high ticket sales, specifically working with Upgrade,
Right.
I did have high ticket experience in the real estate world. One of my largest transactions was one of my most favorite transactions I've ever done.
Yeah.
I picked up 24 plexes in Las Vegas. That was a $1.8 million deal, and I put $100 down deposit.
Shut up.
I
So
have
24 plexes, so 80 doors
Yep,
for $100.
$100 earnest money deposit.
Go on.
Yeah, I got the pictures to prove it. If Brady wants to bring my phone over, we can bring that up later. But yeah, I do have the picture to prove that. We can bring that out.
I believe it. I believe you.
Yeah.
So tell us about that. How'd that go down? Well,
When like I said, I got all those learnings that sales is transferring emotions.
right.
So the poker table taught me that. And then door to door knocking for wholesaling. Like
Yeah.
in wholesaling, you're by yourself, man.
Yeah.
Like there's companies out there that have employees at wholesaling. But I was by myself. It's not like I worked for Vivint or a solar company, right?
Right.
I'm out there
Great
on the
support. Yeah.
I'm out there knocking doors on foreclosures, people who are behind on their mortgage payments.
Yeah.
These are people in distressed financial situations. And I'm like, hey, I want to buy your house.
They're like, okay.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's exactly how they're like, yeah.
Or are they like, no, I'm digging my heels in, I can't. Like, what did you run into the most?
If I like, if they didn't sick their dog on me or had pull a gun on me in Vegas, yeah.
I've knocked some doors in Vegas. It can get a little hairy in there.
It can definitely get a little hairy. My point is that my goal as a real estate entrepreneur and most real estate investors, find distressed financial situations and solve a problem. There's friction there.
Right, because there's a problem.
Exactly. They're behind. Maybe they just lost a loved one. Maybe they just got fired. Who knows, right? And they're in a distressed financial situation. And my job is to go in there and say, hey, I'm actually here to help you and see if I can help you solve a problem.
Right.
So the 24-plex guy, he had some medical issues going on, and out of the 80 doors, I think only like 35 of them were actually filled. The other ones were being inhabited by drug people who weren't paying things, just squatters, right? Homeless people. And so we were like, we can do a seller financing deal with you. We can actually make you win on this if you help carry some of the money back for a few years with us. We had Joe Renick run all the numbers with us, and he was still like, you guys are actually going to offer $100. We're like, yeah, we're going to do it.
Because you're confident. $100.
Because I'm going to transfer the emotion.
I get it. Okay.
So that was like the largest deal I had done. And so jumping into the upgrade world, high ticket sales, I had never done I would say B2C sales before, before that. I had just, I guess the fencing thing counts as B2C actually.
Right.
So I would still say upgrade was truly my first B2C sales.
Cool.
And since I had already been sold by William, who you and I consider very good at.
My face, I don't know how to, because I don't even know how it happens. Every time I'm like, okay.
He's a master of what he does. Let's leave it at that.
He really is, dude.
And he does it for good. It's not like I'm saying, like, he does it to help people, right?
His world has completely changed my life. So I agree with you 100%.
I would agree with mine as well. I've watched him help change hundreds, if not thousands, of people's lives at this point too. So I had been sold on it in his program. So when he asked me to work for him, I was like, yeah, I think I know how to sell this because I've already been sold and I've already received the value from your program. So I trust the value. So now it's just, how could I transfer my emotions of trust and confidence to the person that I'm selling it with? Because again, to your point, it's like most of the programs are, $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. And back in the day, we had programs going up to $160,000. I wouldn't say I was ever nervous selling that big of a program. I think the only thing that I was at points where people would they would tell me their story that was challenging, right? Just went through a divorce, or their company's going under, or they just lost a loved one. And they're searching for hope in a sense. And that's what Upgrade can provide. You've got some great training that helps you take control of your mental well-being. I know people want that. It's a huge value. At the same time, just lost a loved one, and like, man, I'm asking this guy for 50, 100K right now. But I always had to reframe myself and be like, what's the ROI that he's going to get? Because in life, there's a cost that we look at, but then there's an exchange of investment. And if someone can, the sales job, is to make sure that their focus is like, this is not a cost. This is not like an expense for you. You're going to get a massive ROI on this investment to yourself, and that's an exchange that's going to go infinite for you because you're the best ROI you can ever do. It's an investment into yourself.
1,000,000%, dude. So I have a buddy actually that I love deeply. He's one of my very best friends, but his stance, and I don't think it's this much anymore, but his stance used to be that like self-development was simply people were selling hope. And I could understand that, and I was like, that kind of makes sense. But I also had seen the ROI that I had gotten by reading like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People or Think and Grow Rich, or by reading these books, I could see that there was a benefit, a tangible, I think differently, so now my results are different. Where that really came full circle was coming into the upgrade world, where I was like, oh, so all this stuff that's in those fancy self-help books, this is the real life application of it. That makes sense to me.
I feel that way about Upgrade too, because unfortunately, there are some personal self-development companies out there that do sell on hope, and they have no real skills or no actionable steps to actually get results,
I
right?
agree.
Because at the end of the day,
Yeah.
it's results, man.
100%.
And as Jeremy Miner, who's a fantastic salesman,
Great sales
says,
trainer,
hopium is a bad drug.
Hopium.
Yeah.
Catchy. I like it.
It's a catchy line, Jeremy. Kudos to you, my friend.
Way to go, man.
But he's like, hopium is a bad drug.
Yeah.
And I agree with that because while it's a powerful one to motivate you to do something, to sell it and not have anything to back it up, that's unecological.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest part. I used to hear, or someone said a ton, nothing happens until something is sold, which I agree. Sales is what moves the economy forward. The more I've had my own businesses and I've been the one that's responsible for delivering what was sold or ensuring that it is, I would then take it another step. Nothing happens until something is sold. Everything happens after it is sold. And that's one of the really cool things with Upgrade is all of that, once that transfer of energy has been made or that investment is made, then the ROI, it opens up from, we'll call it woo-woo or whatever, logic, and you can call it whatever you want. It opens up and all of a sudden as you're doing the work, dude, it changes everything. It's incredible.
One of the coolest tips that I learned from William was allowing that to happen faster.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So to your point, many of our students, they'll do an investment and upgrade.
Yeah.
And then something miraculous happens for them,
Like
right?
someone wins a house. Weird.
Interesting. Just
Yeah.
weird winning a house, something like that. And he hadn't even bought any course yet. He just talked to William.
He's that guy.
That's the power of what we call embedded suggestions, right?
Yes.
Because I have known some people who've done sales, and I unfortunately did this, and I didn't give a powerful embedded suggestion, and that person might have still been thinking about cautiously, is this the right move?
Right.
Right? Am I actually going to get the value that I'm seeking right now? And I've seen that through other industries, and I saw it when I didn't do the proper embedded suggestion. And this is not to say that I have some power or William has some power.
Right.
The person who accepts this suggestion has the power.
Correct.
Right? So if you accept an embedded suggestion that something is going to positively happen to you with this exchange, your mind is now actually open to the portal in the collective consciousness of something to come to them.
Yes.
And
Deep. We just went deep.
we're going to go into the quantum, right?
Okay. Yeah.
So the embedded suggestion just opens the portal. So again, it's like, does William, myself, or anyone who gives a embedded suggestion have power? No, it's the person who accepts it. That as soon as I give this monetary exchange and I accept the suggestion that is going to allow me to have a different exchange to be faster, I'm now going to search for it in my environment.
100%.
Yeah.
100%, man. It's beautifully said. That was beautifully said. So, okay, I keep going off on tangents. I apologize.
Well, we're good.
What else have you learned from the high ticket?
Man, there's a lot. I would say there's three main things I've learned from the high ticket.
Okay.
The first one is value is what you make of it.
Okay.
Right? Meaning that value is an eye, the beholder.
Okay.
There's been plenty of prospects that I have not sold because I didn't show them the value properly. Right?
Okay.
And there's been plenty of prospects that have sold themselves before I even really had a chance to sell them, just because a few words or the right things that they heard and they're like, man, there's tons of value here.
Right.
So value is what you make of it.
Okay.
And when you're selling a high ticket, for again, $5,000 to our packages go up to $50,000 now.
Right.
$50,000 is a good amount of money to most Americans.
100%. It's more than the average wage in America.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if someone's like, $50,000 for a year coaching with you guys and events, and like, what am I getting out of the value?
Yeah.
So as a sales person, it's definitely our job and our responsibility to transfer whatever the value that is to that person and actually really find out if there's value that can be delivered, right?
Right.
So that actually leads me into number 2 with high ticket.
Okay.
I consider true sales more problem finding rather than problem solving.
Agreed.
Right? So problem solving is good.
Yeah.
But you also have to find problem finding to let someone know about that gap. Right?
Okay.
Because some people come with you and they're like, this is my problem and I just need to get here.
Right. Right.
But you do problem finding and all of a sudden that gap widens.
Yeah.
And so a good salesperson, especially in high ticket, because if someone's like, well, $50,000 up here. My problem's only this big. But then if I problem find and I widen that gap, and all of a sudden they're like,
Right.
oh, $50,000 will help me solve that problem plus all these other problems,
Right.
right?
That makes sense.
So I think that's the other ticket with high ticket that's really helped me out, is being a good problem finder.
Gotcha.
And the last one is understanding language at such an important level. I think you can get away with some things of saying language improperly if you're doing lower ticket sales, or I don't even.
No, it's a real thing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can get away with maybe sounding a little crude, or maybe not having an intelligence about when you speak, or being compassionate, or saying, just using language properly, right?
Right.
With high ticket sales, you're representing something.
Right.
Like you're representing like $5,000, $10,000, $15,000, $50,000, right?
Right.
It's nothing crazy like millions and millions of dollars,
Right.
but a B2C, it's pretty high.
That's a lot. Yeah.
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 B2B, maybe like that's small numbers.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
B2C, it's a pretty high ticket offer. So
100%.
I think you're representing intelligence, in that your language has to be supportive of that.
Reflect intelligence. 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. So let me make sure I understand. One, the value that you're putting out there.
Yep.
And then 2, being a problem finder.
Yep.
And then 3, masterfully using language to convey what the value actually is.
For me, yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense to me, man.
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. And it's almost like when you get into that problem finding area, as you're in the problem finding, all of a sudden the service that you're providing or the product that you're providing can almost fill that gap that's created in the problem finding, and saying, okay, dude, here's what's in it for you if you end up doing this. When you decide to jump in, and all of a sudden this problem is gone, and this is what takes its place, or potentially something even better than that takes its place, and then this problem is gone, this better solution is now there. It just makes it easy, almost effortless, because then you don't even really have to ask for the deal, which you always should at least put it out there. Okay, let's go. But you almost don't have to, because as you were saying earlier as well, the value has been created in their own mind that you don't even have to sell it, because they're like, we're doing this.
Yeah. If you've done the sale properly, I think I actually removed the word closing and just put the commitment at the end,
I like it.
and then be like, okay, if I've done the questions right, and if I've shown them value, if I've done the problem finding right, this should really just be one question at the end. Do you feel like could be an answer for you?
I can't say no.
If we've done it right,
Yes,
that's the only commitment question I
Yeah.
really need. Do you feel like this could help you? Or do you see how this could help you? That's
Right.
it. Like, that's my job. So if the sale is done right up to that point, meaning that the process, if I've asked them the right questions, we've done some problem finding, and I've also brought to them like, hey, have you ever thought about what would happen if you don't change?
Right.
Right? If you keep doing this way. I'll give you an example of a sales that might help, right?
Okay.
I was a little crude, but the guy was pushing back a little bit. He's like, man, life, because upgrade. Life's easy, right? We talk about it. It's easy, it's effortless.
100%.
And I was like, what if it could be easy and effortless? He's like, dude, life is tough, man. You don't get it. Life is tough. I was like, and I thought about that John Wayne quote.
Okay. I'm excited to see which one it is.
So I said, you're right. Life is tough, but it's tougher if you're stupid. An upgrade makes you more intelligent. So you should buy our course. He just stares at me because he laughed, right?
Yeah.
And it was a pattern interrupt on purpose.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he laughed, and then he's like, oh, okay, that's a good one, man.
No, dude. There's a song that reminds me, and maybe we can find it and put it in here, but it's usually to bloopers, like a reel of bloopers. But if you're gonna be dumb, you got to be tough.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. I like that a lot. Pattern interrupts. So at the beginning of the call, this is not a call because I feel like we're on a sales call now, but in the beginning of the podcast, you had talked about NLP just a little bit. And that's where our mutual engagement started, right? We both came into Will's world. He's teaching NLP. For those that don't know, it's neuro-linguistic programming. How has that helped you in high-ticket sales? Pattern interrupt is one of those things, but tell me a little bit more about NLP.
Yeah, it's giving me mathematical equations.
Okay.
And I like math, right? I'm a big numbers guy coming from poker and real estate.
Yeah.
Math it's important there. It's good to leverage. And I think math is, I forget who said it. I'm going to butcher it, so I won't go for the guy's name. But he basically is like, math is the thing you can't argue, right? We can argue philosophy, we can argue science, we can argue, but math you shouldn't be able to argue. It's pretty straightforward.
Right.
NLP made language and it put math behind it, right?
Right.
There's actually a book called The Structure of Magic, written by Richard Bandler, who was the co-creator of neurolinguistic programming.
Right.
And the book is so dry because it's just numbers plus language.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's a tough read.
It's a tough read.
And there's how many series is there? There's a couple volumes, isn't there?
There's 2 volumes, yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, so I mean, it's just a tough read, but I loved it because I was like, okay, I'm starting to see the matrix. When
Right.
people's language goes like this, I'm getting the model of the world.
Right.
Interesting. So
Okay.
how is it helpful for me if I can ask a certain question,
Okay.
I'm on purpose doing a certain mathematical formula because I want to extract this data.
Okay.
So if I ask you a question about your values,
right.
I'll lead in with a certain question phrasing that will give me more data about your values on purpose.
Okay.
And sometimes using NLP, I'll structure it in a double bind question, meaning I'll make sure you give me an either or, and then from there, I'll take it from there so I can lead the conversation mathematically.
I love it.
So I love neurolinguistic programming for that. I also love it in terms of it's obviously has some very powerful techniques in there that allow one to remove destructive, old, negative emotions that are tied to old habits and patterns.
Right.
It's helped me personally. I've been able to help a good amount of people do it individually.
Right.
There's just a lot of powerful tools in NLP.
It really is.
What I've always respected about William is that I think Upgrade is what NLP could have become if they had stayed on that path and kept
Yeah.
working towards something that was more unifying
Yeah.
and chunked up. So that's why I've always appreciated William's work and working with him, because it's just more than NLP. Yeah, we got NLP in there,
Yeah.
but he keeps redoing things and
Yeah.
revolutionizing techniques.
Finding the quicker equations.
Yeah. And what does that do for you? Why is that important? Well, you find quicker equation, get a result faster. Maybe your life gets better faster,
Right.
right? What is AI? That's the whole point of AI. So
Right. Right. No, it's a real thing, man.
Yeah.
I love that. And so NLP, you would say, has helped drastically in that third little pillar of high ticket sales of language.
yeah.
Another thing along the lines of language is you had mentioned a suggestion. Auto suggestion is the word that's coming to my mind, but that's not the word you used. Tell me again the word you used.
Embedded.
Embedded suggestion, right. So kind of jump into that a little bit as well, because it is such a powerful thing.
Yeah.
Like even the auto suggestion is us what we give to ourselves. That's correct? Like an auto suggestion.
You can give it to yourself. You can
Yeah.
give embedded suggestion to yourself too, but auto suggestions, yeah.
Yeah. So I love that. So tell us a little bit more about embedded suggestions.
Big picture, it's just telling someone what you want to tell them,
Okay.
but you're doing it through a suggestive way, right?
Okay.
Because the least persuasive way to have someone change is actually to tell them directly what to do.
Well, so dad moment.
Yeah.
Just because this dad life, shirt here.
Yep.
Don't do that. It's a bad idea.
Yeah.
Don't tell your kids exactly what to do, because then they'll be like, really?
Exactly.
I actually have, I'm not going to name names, but my family, my children will know which sibling I'm referring to. But I have one little guy.
Yep.
He'll just flip me the bird, dude, when I tell him directly what to do. And I'm like,
Yeah.
where did you learn that? He then blames another sibling. And I'm like, the other sibling doesn't do that to me. But no, for real, if you tell someone directly, it's super ineffective.
I forget what study, I think it was NYU, did a study.
Yeah.
They said language used directly at someone, almost 8 to 90% of people are like, they don't take it in.
Right.
Almost deleting, distorting it right away.
Right.
So why is embedded suggestion powerful? It's because you're basically getting across the message, but you're just doing it in a suggestive way, right?
Right.
Don't think of a pink elephant,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I use it a lot right now with Brielle.
Yeah.
I'm like, babe, I just want to let you know that you seem to be doing better, right?
Yeah.
Because she's tired right now. It's toward the
Yeah.
end of the pregnancy. I'm
Yeah.
like, you seem to be doing better today, babe. You're like, your face looks a little clearer and like you just seem lighter, right? Are you
Yeah.
feeling better? Or did you go for a walk earlier?
Yeah.
Right? So even if she's not
Yeah.
feeling that way,
Yeah.
I'm projecting it out there. So it's an embedded suggestion.
Mm.
I do that with my mother. I've done that with my father, right?
Right.
When I know that they'll text me individually. Sometimes they're having they're fighting with each other.
Yeah.
But I've seen them at like holidays and I've been like, Mom, Daddy, did you guys have a talk? Everything feels better right now.
Right.
Kaylee, Shannon, that was my sister's name.
Yeah.
Like, it feels better in here, doesn't it? Right.
Yeah.
So that's a more like obvious suggestion.
Right.
So I'm just starting with that framework.
Right.
In sales, embedded suggestions, like, I think that what you may be looking for, right? Now, this might be what you're looking for. I don't know for sure if this is what you're looking for, but you told me earlier about this problem, right?
Okay.
That you have this, I'll use an example, like you have a limiting belief around wealth and abundance, right? I find that actually most people that have the strongest belief in themselves,
Right.
right, and find that wealth and abundance are the people that also have the courage to know what they want, right? So there's a lot of little hidden embedded suggestions in there.
Okay.
Because I'm talking about someone else. I find that other people, right, is the beginning of the embedded suggestion. So using third-person stories is a great way to do an embedded suggestion. They call it the Trojan horse.
Yeah.
Right,
Okay.
slipping it in there. The reason they're powerful, man, is because you want to begin to slip past the conscious mind into the unconscious mind
100%.
and direct someone's behavior and their thoughts.
Okay. So just for those that may not be so familiar with the NLP world or the upgrade world, because I know that before I entered into this world of understanding the conscious and the unconscious, it just sounded like fancy, dancy words, right? Like, is there really two things? What is it? Is it one? Like, break down just a little bit. What's the difference between the conscious and the unconscious?
Well, Carl Jung called...
And why is it important to slip in there with the Trojan horse?
Yeah. Carl Jung called the unconscious the shadows, right?
Okay.
Everything that we're not paying attention to.
Okay.
And he's got a famous saying that I really love. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate.
Okay.
Why is that important to think about? Well, I'm sure there's been times in your life, if you're listening, you're watching this right now, where you've been like, why the heck did I do that?
Yeah.
What is wrong with me? Why did I do that action? Why did I do this thing?
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't a conscious choice by you.
Right.
It was your unconscious mind doing something for you. Right?
Okay.
Now, if I had a iPad Pro, which I do, but I don't have it with me, so let me reframe myself.
That's fair.
I would draw
Yeah.
something right now to make it easy, but just imagine a line, right? And this is your timeline.
Right.
I'm going to break down the conscious and unconscious mind a little more simplistic.
Okay.
Conscious mind's our brain.
Okay.
That's a time machine.
Okay.
Unconscious mind is like a recording device,
Okay.
and that's really our body.
Okay.
I'm young, you're young, you see your kid touches a stove when he's 4 years old.
Right.
He's now got a recording device in his body that goes, anytime you're near something hot, don't touch it, dude.
Valid. Very valid.
Right? So that's a recording machine, and your brain is the time machine that brings you back sometimes. So even if you're near...
Great analogy, dude.
And
Did you come up with this?
This is something I heard from Dr. Douglas Brackman. I've kind of just expanded
No,
on.
Douglas. This is great. Keep going. Yeah.
Right? So anytime I'm near a hot stove, my brain and mind time machine work at the same time. That's hot. Don't touch it.
Yeah.
Right? So now let's go into just an everyday life.
Okay.
People use that same methodology, though, with predicting the future.
Yes.
And so if they see anything in the potential of the future, their mind actually looks through the future, looks back through the present moment, looks into the past, and just tries to find any similar cross patterns that might be resemble what's going on in the future, and brings that data back through the present moment and out in the future and tries to predict. Now, if there's negative emotions stored in the past, anger, hurt, sadness, guilt, shame, fear, anything like that, right?
Right.
And they distort that data and they pull it back and they push it back into the present moment, out into the potential future. You think you might have a skewed of the future?
Very much so.
Right?
Yeah. Laced with a bunch of negative emotion in the future.
So that's a more simplistic breakdown of the conscious mind and the unconscious mind of how they're working together. The unconscious mind has all this stored data.
Okay.
And it's a recording device. And the conscious mind has the ability to go back into the unconscious mind and retrieve that stored data.
Right.
But if it's got negative emotions attached to it, if it's distorted, if you got a decision in there that made sense when you were 6, but when you're 36, it doesn't make sense,
right,
then your present moment and your future are going to look skewed. So why upgrade is powerful and other training in NLP is powerful is you go back and you retrieve that decision point. You begin to release the negative emotions attached to it so that when you're starting to look into the future, you're looking through a clearer lens.
Right.
It's not a blurry lens from the past.
Right.
So the unconscious mind, the shadow work, as Carl Jung talks about it, has things that you're not considering. And if you're not considering it, then you're going to continue to have your life run by it.
100%, dude. And so just along the lines of bringing old Richard Bandler back into it, right? Our greatest limitations are the things we haven't considered.
Heck yeah.
Right? And so if it's all unconscious, and we're like, what on earth? That makes perfect sense to me.
Yep.
Perfect sense to me. So how would you say specifically you have used that Trojan horse of embedded suggestions to sell more easily, more effortlessly, just like that it's now simply a commitment? We're no longer closing, meaning we got to shut the door hard on and be like, got him. No, you're just committing because he wants to play with us. He's jumping in.
Yeah, it's more about what they want for their future self.
Yes. This is exactly what we talked about with Dallin on the other episode, is like taking that gap and basically being able to say, by what we have to offer, or what we're doing, or the solution you're buying is going to cover that gap.
Yep.
We're going to bridge that gap, and along the way, it's just going to become better and better and better for you.
Yeah, someone's coming for us for results.
Right.
Any sale is like, what results can you get me?
Right.
So an upgrade is a transformational interchange of their future self.
Right.
Your current self, you believe, right? Someone out there that you can be better. That's usually why people come to upgrade. They believe they can be better. They have the potential to be better, and they see that upgrade has a system and a tools to help them get there.
Right.
Awesome. So my embedded suggestion is always be, when you get there, after you do this, once you learn this skill, after you take this training, after you come in person with us, once you get this coaching, after we help you release that negative emotion, then you will feel this.
Right.
Right? It's a cause-effect complex equivalent statement.
Yeah.
And sometimes I do embedded suggestions. Sometimes I just direct with them. Listen, man, JL, I promise you that once you release that negative emotion of fear, you're going to begin to see the world a whole lot differently, my friend.
100% different. It's not even the same world.
Yeah.
Because there's no more monsters.
Yeah.
It's a simple, like, oh, dude, this is easy. Let's just go in.
Yeah.
Cool. I love that.
So embedded suggestions, it's always just about the future self, right?
Yeah.
It's always about the thing that you want from someone. That's why I'm so excited to be a father, because I feel such a gratitude of knowing this linguistic gift.
Yeah.
Right? That I'm going to always be, well, not always, right? Like, I'm not perfect, right?
I get it. Yeah.
I'm going to hold myself to a standard that like 98% of the time, the language I use with my child is always about how can they move their mind forward with future self, and embedded suggestions could be a lot.
So you know what I have actually found in that 2%, which mine is a much higher ratio of when I'm not perfect, like much higher.
You don't give yourself enough credit.
But like what I have found in those moments where all of a sudden I forget the skill set of embedding the suggestion, especially in parenting or in like intimate relationships with your spouse or whatever, I forget the tools of embedded suggestion, or I forget that how powerful my language is, that it doesn't actually describe, it defines the reality. In those moments, if I pause and I take a step back and I just ask myself, okay, time out. When did I decide this? What on earth was the emotion I was just feeling? Okay, what can I learn from this? All tools that we've learned in Upgrade.
Yeah.
That percentage of being better and better and better, or goes from back towards 98%, or in my case, who knows where it is, but you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
It's powerful to be able to tap into the unconscious, look into those shadows, and then be able to actually do it with somebody else. Because everybody else, their responses are really just merely a reflection of something that's running inside that you're like, interesting. And if we come to it with a state of just curiosity, we can help them in that whole problem finding phase of selling. Well, for what purpose? Like what's in it for you to do that?
Yeah.
And then actually, how is that working for you? The whole, well, then you're going to be stupid. John Wayne quote, like I did. Like, it's powerful stuff, man. I love it.
It's a good reminder too. What you brought up is important. If someone's kind of giving a resistance in a sales situation, or maybe they're just challenging back, then this is a projection also what's going on inside of me right now. So let me solve this for myself so that the mirror is solved. Right? So if they're resisting, if they're being challenging, where inside am I resisting something and am I being challenging? If I was to solve that right now, would the mirror change? Hey, listen, I'm just one guy giving you a theory. If you're listening and you're reviewing out here, test it out for yourself, or check out upgrade.com and check it out.
100%. I can't tell you how many times when I've taken that moment to pause and actually say, okay, how am I being stubborn?
Yeah.
In what areas of my life am I being stubborn? When I'm dealing with my stubborn kids flipping me the bird. Which he doesn't do that often, and he's tiny, so he doesn't even know what he's doing. So he's a great kid.
Sometimes you can just look at him and be like, man, that kid's got fortitude. Yeah.
Oh, dude, all of us are under the impression of whenever he decides to come into his own, watch out, dude. He's coming in hot. He's a full send kind of guy. But yeah, it's really cool to be able to look inside, identify in what area that it may not even be in that specific same area of your life, but in some area of your life, that same emotion or same behavior is rearing its head. And once it's resolved in your own personal life, the mirror does come back a lot clearer, and you may find the problem has just kind of dispelled.
Yeah.
It's a cool thing.
And if people want to know how that's done, obviously there's a lot of step-by-step processes, but the easiest suggestion I can give on this podcast is think of Pavlov's dog, right? When he rings the bell and the dogs salivate, right?
Right.
So I set up triggers for myself and my environment.
Okay.
If what I'm receiving is something that I don't want, like resistance or challenging, then I've set up an anchor, a trigger in my mind that, okay, learn now. Right. So that's kind of like the volley back to me in a way. Like I'm getting it. My mind goes, become the observer now and observe what you are creating.
Yeah.
Meaning that there's a creation over here, resistant and challenging.
Yeah.
I'm feeling that, well, man, if I'm observing that, then I'm creating it, float out to the observer. What am I creating?
Right.
So that's the trigger point for people if they want to try it out.
Dude, my only advice would be hop on to Upgrade. Upgrade.com. UPGRD.com, right?
Yeah, no
or
A.
Is it the Upgrade?
Just upgrade.com, UPGRD.com, no A or E. Yep. Check out our podcast. Follow me on Instagram. I'm not that popular on Instagram, but
Well, I think it was Brady. YouTube matters, apparently. So get really big on YouTube.
Yeah. I need Brady's help, so.
I just got you another client, Doc. Okay.
Yeah.
So, no, it's powerful, man. So thank you for coming on the show, dude.
Of course. Appreciate you, brother.
Thank you.
Ice bath next time.
Nope.